Well, good morning, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live. Sorry about the delay there. I had technical difficulties. And hopefully we'll get that all resolved so it doesn't happen again. But when you're a senior citizen, things happen and I never know how to fix them. Andrea, good morning to you. You get your notification. Sorry I'm on a little bit late here, guys, today. And Sandy, Vancouver, Washington, good morning. Nativity, how are you? And let me say hello to a few other people. Who is there? I didn't see that one. Carol, West Virginia. Kevin, how are you? Nick, and I'm going to say, I don't know. Kathy, that went up. It was from Niagara Falls. Who was that? Maria, Ottawa, Suzanne, Edmonton. Nellie, how are you? And Frida, how are you? And who is that? Cheryl, West Virginia, good morning to you. And you know what? The names are going up, guys. I can't see them. Dorothy, PEI. Beverly, New Brunswick, good morning to you guys. Marianne, glad to see you, she said. Yeah, I know. Yvonne, Petawawa, and I can't tell. Rose from Fort Lauderdale, Veronica, Sue, and Diane, Thunder Bay, good morning. And Judy from Mitchell, how are you? Lorraine, Oshawa, and Eric. Eric's complaining about the snow. Well, come to Sudbury. Anna, how are you? You should see how much snow we got. Jeanette and George, how are you? And Jace, Chantal, Ottawa, good morning. And St. Petersburg, Florida, who was that? Who is that? I can't see it. Sharon gets up into those clouds, guys, and hi Donna and Gary from Hola from Mexico. Gary, how are you? Fran and I don't know. Detroit Lions. Who was that? I can't tell, guys. Anyway, I better stop because I'm missing almost everybody. I can't see. Gets up in the clouds. I'll try and fix that. Okay, guys, I got about 4 or 5 stories here. Okay, this is sort of articles week rather than studies, although I got 1 or 2 studies too. And okay, let me talk about England. And 23%, listen to this. This is not good, guys. This is not good. 23% of 4 to 5 year olds in the United Kingdom are overweight or obese. 23% of 4 to 5 year olds. When it gets to 10 to 11 year olds, there's 35% of the population there, of young people between 10 and 11 are overweight or obese. This makes them, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out what's going to happen. When kids are overweight or obese, their risk of diabetes, fatty liver, go up almost 100%. They're going to have a hard time avoiding. And remember, guys, diabetes is the last thing to happen. Not the first, it's the last thing to happen. So, anyway, I mean, you read statistics like this, and guys, I often do this. I look ahead, and I wish I could see, I see a light in the tunnel. I see a light in that tunnel, but I see a train coming. We put all our emphasis on treating disease. There's a drug for everything, including weight loss. It's, unless you're taking Wegovy or Ozempic, that's the key to weight loss. They're not even talking food. But anyway, this was years ago. I'm going to say this projection came out, I'm going to say 5 years ago. They said by the year 2050, which is 25 years away, the economy of all the world will crash because of diabetes. Just diabetes. Never mind treating anything else. If we don't change course. And the reason, guys, I'm not optimistic about changing course, there's too much money involved. There's too much money involved. People, even right now, we see it politically. Look, whatever you think about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he wants to change chronic disease. We're not winning. We're losing the war. We're sicker than ever. And, people want to change it, but I'm not optimistic. There's too much money involved. And, to get people to want to change things. Now, I'm not talking about you guys, because my audience that listens, they listen Linda, or they listen Larry. You're already convinced that if any change is going to occur, okay, and I used to tell people in my office all the time, if you want things to change, you got to start with you. You have to start with you. Don't worry about changing other people. You got to start with you first. And to the extent, I'll tell you something about the reset, okay? Now, I've written books about it, and people will read a book, and you know what? That sounds like something I need to do. But you know what? I'm going to tell you something. You know what works better than a book? Word of mouth. Your testimony. Hey, people are watching you, and you're making changes. And then they'll go, oh, what are you doing? What is it that you've done? And the word of mouth, it's the most powerful testimony, isn't it? It really is. And, I'm not, like I've said to you before, I'm not really out to change the world. I'm out to educate my audience and let them decide. Let them look at life. Let them look at food. Let them look at chronic disease and see if what I'm talking about makes any sense. My sphere of influence, and I thank God for it, I got a big platform. We're at 90,000 people on Facebook, and 4 or 5 million, 5 million almost downloads on our podcast. Well, I'm very thankful for that. I don't take that lightly, folks. I take that as a real challenge for me to beat the drum to as many people as I can beat the drum to, and give them information. Information is power. It really is. It's powerful. And then you can make some choices in your life. like when you look at England, I don't think it's anything different. I saw statistics about the U.S. there. Holy moly. Young people. I remember, okay, this is years ago. It's got to be 15, 20 years ago. The first time that I saw taking blood sugar, saw a kid with type 2 diabetes, not type 1. Type 1 is autoimmune. The pancreas isn't working. You're not secreting enough insulin. It's an autoimmune disease. Okay? Now, I got some thoughts on that. But I'm talking about seeing a patient in the office, a child, and diagnosing type 2. They were sugarholics. And I said, at that age, I'd never seen it before. I've seen adults, obviously. A kid with type 2 diabetes? Sugar diabetes. Okay? Anyway, that's one story I wanted to bring you. Good news, okay? I saw this yesterday. In America, Fruit Loop sales, okay, are down 54.6% in the last 12 weeks. Right? And that, again, is just information that came out. Between Kennedy and others, they talked about the cereal industry and Fruit Loops. I think it wasn't just sugar they were talking about. They were talking about, in America, Fruit Loops is different than it is over in Europe. Because in America, they allowed all these different chemicals added to that cereal. I think that's probably not only the sugar, but all those stinking additions to the cereal in the United States that they don't allow. I'm not sure about Canada. I'd have to look it up. Anywho, good news. Fruit Loop sales down 54.6% in the last 12 weeks. I'm just going to make a statement. There's no way of me proving this. But, yesterday I sort of spent the whole time on what cardiologists, why they're so wrong when they make blanket statements, okay? They're so wrong. They were wrong about salt. They were wrong about margarine. They were wrong about statin drugs. They were wrong about cholesterol. They were wrong about red meat. They were wrong. Whenever they make a blanket statement, they haven't been right on anything except stop smoking. They got that right. Okay, so I got to give them credit. The American Heart Association and the cardiologists, they said stop smoking. Okay, I'm happy they said that. They were right. But they've been wrong on everything else. Let me make a statement. If the American Heart Association would come out with a statement and said, we no longer want people to have cereal in the morning, sugar-laced cereal in the morning, but let's get back to bacon and eggs, I tell you, I think there would be a paradigm shift in our kids and even the adult population. If some big group like that came out and said, look, we've been wrong. Cereals are not good. Fiber is overrated. What kids really need is to get off the stinking sugars and get back to nature with eggs, meat, and cheese. Good dairy. Do you think it's going to happen? Am I being, am I living in a dream world? Do you think they could ever come out and say, we want you to have bacon in the morning? Okay? Have bacon in the morning. Okay, I'm not holding my breath, okay? But I'm just saying, okay? Fruit Loop sales are down 56%. Now, I don't know about the other cereals, okay? And, I heard, I think this was on the news the other night, where a mother was saying, well, picking up cereal, she said, well, the price of cereal has gone up like everything else, but it's still cheaper to feed my kids that. And, they look at their budgets. And I get that. I understand that. With inflation the way it is and, the price of groceries and all that. But guys, I always used to tell my patients this, okay? You're making an investment. When you take care of your body, like who doesn't, if you work at all or whatever, you got a pension plan or whatever, and sometimes, you don't even know where that money goes, but you're hoping that it's building a little bit of a nest egg for you and whatever. But guys, health is an investment. And just to prove it to you, someone is sick. They pay any amount of money not to be sick. Someone that's got cancer, if they had it, they would spend any amount to fix it. The best bang for the buck is prevention of disease. Prevention of disease. That's the best bang of the buck. You can have all the money in the world, and if you don't have your health, not good. Right? So, again, I'm making a statement. Do you think that the American Heart Association, the American Cancer Association, the Canadian Cancer Society, or whatever, do you think they would ever make a blanket statement like that? Like, we were wrong on food, and now we want you to get it right. You know what, guys? Like, let's take smoking, for example. I get a chuckle because you talk about a paradigm shift on smoking. I've lived long enough to be able to laugh about it in a way. Because when I was a kid, my dad used to recommend smoking to clear your lungs out. And I'm not kidding you. Almost every doctor, smoking's good. 9 out of 10 American physicians choose Camel cigarettes. I was born. I lived in those days. I find it almost funny. But they did a paradigm shift. True or false? A 180. Somebody had to start that. You know what? Smoking's no good for you. Like, we kind of laugh about that today. Of course smoking's no good for you. But if you go back when I was a kid, smoking was good for you. Well, as a matter of fact, it's almost like a comedy. Ansel Keys The serial killer. Okay? Not with a C, like cereal, although he was in on it, when he blamed cholesterol for heart disease. And it all started with President Dwight Eisenhower. Okay? An American hero in World War II. Became the president of the United States. And he had a heart attack in 1956, golfing. And Ancel Keys made headlines saying, I know what happened to him. He had too much cholesterol. Nah. He was smoking 4 packs of cigarettes a day. But in the 1950s, smoking was good for you. The tobacco industry, guys, you have to understand something. They were liars, pants on fires. And then the tobacco industry, when they finally caught up to them, okay, Philip Morris, one of the biggest companies in the world. You know what they did? They transferred their money to the food industry. Wow. And they brought all their scientists with it. Their science was, how do we hook people? And they used to tell the world, cigarettes are not addictive. But then they went to the food industry and they said, sugar is not addictive. Lied, liars, pants on fires. And they've hooked a whole generation or two on sugars. And it's worse than cocaine. Takes the same route in your brain. And you wonder, do you ever think that the American Heart Association or whatever, or will make a statement saying we were wrong about, let's start just with breakfast. Let's start with breakfast. We were wrong about breakfast cereals. They're no good for you. Tony the Tiger ain't great. That's what they used to call me as a kid. Tony the Tiger. That was my nickname at school. Because of Frosted Flakes. They're great. No, they're not. They're not. I like Tony the Tiger, but Frosted Flakes, they're wrong. They're wrong. Oh, Dr. Martin, Shreddies. What would I do without my Shreddies? You'll be surprised what you'll do without your Shreddies. And shredded wheat. Oh, fiber. You know how good that is for you? That'll lower your cholesterol. Yeah, okay. Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to do that? Why do you want to lower your cholesterol? Anyway, guys, I get pumped up because I can't get over it. I can't get over it. We live in a, but a little bit of good news today. The sales of Fruit Loops are down. They took a massive hit. I'm kind of wondering how they're going to respond to it. Okay? How they're going to respond to it. Fruit Loops. Sales down 54.6% in the last 12 weeks. Wow. Okay. You know what tomorrow is, guys? Tomorrow is Q&A. Question and answer Friday. Send your questions in. Okay? Send your questions in. We love those questions. Guys, to make sure, info@martinclinic.com. Send me an email. Send me an email. info@martinclinic.com. We'll get to your questions. Okay, guys, we love you dearly and sincerely, and lay off the Fruit Loops. Talk to you soon.